Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Hot Tag Show, only on goek.net. It is Sunday, December the 9th, and I am Ed Kelly, as always, joined by my brother
Adam Stephen Kelly.
Welcome to this week's show. Quite a lot lined up for you today. We're going to do some roundups of this week's Raw and a preview to tonight's TNA pay-per-view, as well as looking ahead at WWE's TLC. Also going to answer some questions as normal and have a look at this week's world of wrestling. So, Adam, should we start with a roundup of this week's Raw?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start off with the tag champions Team Hell No, Kane and Daniel Bryan, and they're up against and defeated the Primetime Players. But before this match, with all the recent controversy with the Shield attacking everyone and anyone and everyone, Kane begged the Shield to come to the ring this week and taunting them. They're up in their perch, up in the skybox, and he said, and I quote, "Well, why don't you come down here right now and we'll give you something to fight about?" Obviously they won the match, but the win was short-lived as the Shield did descend onto them and they actually injured Kane's arm and they delivered the triple powerbomb to Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, this was an interesting way to kick off the show, Raw this week, with the Shield taking centre stage. Obviously they've been beating Ryback in the last couple of weeks since they made their debut at Survivor Series in WWE. And this week they started off with a skybox, and then some of the members disappeared, and every time they appeared they emerged in a different area of the crowd, and they edged closer and closer to the ring, and by the time the match was over they'd, as you said, attacked both Daniel Bryan and Kane.
Well, we'll hear more from them later because this wasn't their only appearance of the show, so we'll find out. Segment next, The Miz interestingly challenged CM Punk to a lie detector test and challenged his credibility. Basically, CM Punk was here saying that, I'm the longest reigning champion of the last 25 years. You people owe me everything. If it wasn't for me, this show will be boring. There's nothing else good in it but me. Miz came down and questioned him and challenged him to this lie detector test, which we'll hear about more later in the show. But that was quite interesting. CM Punk saying that everything he says is the truth, and that he would take the test, but everyone would have to apologise to him afterwards. Okay, following the tag team theme, we had the team of Cena and Sheamus, and they defeated the team of Dolph Ziggler and The Big Show. This was quite a good contest as well, with Cena pinning Dolph Ziggler after the attitude adjustment, after finally putting it off, after The Big Show had stopped his previous attempts. But quite a good tag match, seeing the faces going over. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, it's a good, solid tag team match, and interesting to see Cena go over Dolph Ziggler again for the second time in a row. This feud between Cena and Dolph Ziggler has been boiling in the last couple of weeks, the last month or so. Of course, they will now face off at TLC, and hopefully Dolph Ziggler can get his victory in there. So obviously there's some big stipulation added, as we'll go into a little later. But Sheamus hit The Big Show with the white noise. At the same time, Cena hit Dolph Ziggler with the attitude adjustment. So Ziggler and Big Show didn't look too strong after this match, but hopefully, at TLC, I guess we'll see whether Ziggler can defeat Cena and whether Big Show can once again defeat Sheamus.
Definitely. Okay, one of my newfound favourites here was Damien Sandow, and he was up against Santino Marella. He beat Marella using his finisher, the Terminus. It was a 2-minute match, this one. It was a shame, really, because I'd like to have, I like watching Sandow, and I preferred this one to go on longer. But he's proven that he's also very good on the mic, and very good on the shtick. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, well, it was only a 2-minute match, and kind of as to be expected by a match involving Santino Marella. But before this, of course, Sandow even was continuing his search for his apprentice, and had a member of the crowd come out, who clearly was a local actor or something, who was asked 3 questions by Sandow and got the first 2 correct and the third one incorrect. So the search for Damien Sandow's apprentice continues. But the segment lasted much longer than the match did.
Next up, 2 wrestlers who no doubt would have wrestled many times before in their native Mexico. It was Alberto Del Rio, and he defeated Sin Cara. the Essence of Excellence, which is a fantastic name. He defeated Sin Cara with the cross arm breaker. A good match. I mean, these two have wrestled each other lots of times, before they even came to WWE, I'm sure.
Yeah, and this one went it was about 20 minutes long. Definitely Sin Cara's longest singles match since he made his WWE debut. And evidently Cara he looked completely exhausted by the end of this match, so I guess when you do go long like that, when you're not kind of used to it, I guess it will take its toll a bit more than perhaps if you were used to it, like Del Rio. But this was kind of the real long match of the show, as they have been doing in recent weeks. But it was a good match. It was a good, solid match, and probably Sin Cara's best singles match he's had since he arrived in WWE.
Definitely. Okay, next we had another segment, and where Mr. McMahon met with Vicky Guerrero in the ring for a board meeting, and this was had big stipulations here, because it was announced that at TLC, Dolph Ziggler will be putting up his Money in the Bank title shot on the line against Cena. So it seems that now Dolph Ziggler has everything to lose, and John Cena has everything to gain.
Yep, the guy who won the SmackDown Money in the Bank ladder match at Money in the Bank is now facing off against the winner of the Raw Money in the Bank ladder match, who lost his championship. John Cena was the first person ever to lose his Money in the Bank contract by failing to win the match. He cashed it in at Raw 1000 against CM Punk, failed to win. So Dolph Ziggler now has everything to lose, as you said, in this ladder match, and I'm looking forward to this match. And whether or not Ziggler or Cena will win, I guess we can discuss a little bit later when we go in depth on the current TLC card. But this was kind of a pointless segment, really. McMahon kind of bullied Vicky Guerrero into making the match and putting the stipulation together. And this basically, McMahon's appearance was kind of just a way to perhaps boost the ratings a bit. But it really was kind of just a pointless appearance by him. He didn't have any kind of major news apart from this, this stipulation on the ladder match. It just seemed a bit pointless.
Okay, next up, Brad Maddox begged Vicky Guerrero for another chance of winning a WWE contract, but he pleaded with her and said he would take on anyone as long as he got another chance. Well, he got more than he bargained for when he was put up against Randy Orton, and Randy Orton made pretty light work of him, winning with the RKO and leaving him writhing. But after this, of course, the Shield, as we alluded to earlier, struck again.
Yep, and this match went even shorter than the Sandel Morella match, just like about 70 seconds, a 70-second squash. Randy Orton taking out Brad Maddox with the RKO. Brad Maddox kind of just appeared on this show out of nowhere. I mean, he was beaten, after death by Ryback about a month ago now, and was put in the back of an ambulance. And he just randomly appeared again, begged for this match begged for another match to get a contract. He was granted it, but defeated by Orton. So who knows when we'll see Maddox again? But I'm sure it will involve him getting a contract at some stage.
Definitely.
And of course, yes, the Shield did attack again. The Shield, as they have said in last week's episode of Raw, when they were interviewed by Michael Cole, that they are a shield from injustice. But where the injustice is in a match like this, we don't know. And still not been revealed whether they're in cahoots with CM Punk.
Definitely, we'll get to that slightly later. Okay, next up was US Champion Antonio Cesaro, and he defeated, in a fatal four-way match, Intercontinental Champ Kofi Kingston, Wade Barrett, and R-Truth.
Yeah, this was a fatal four-way match, and it was the Raw Active portion of the show. Fans voted on Twitter whether they wanted to see the US Championship on the line or the Intercontinental Championship on the line. And this match, of course, is the culmination of two matches that are going to take place at TLC, as Antonio Cesaro takes on R-Truth again for the title, and Kingston takes on Wade Barrett for the Intercontinental title. This was a really, really good match, actually. Cesaro ended up defending his title and retained it, but this was a really solid matchup, and he got the pin over Kingston, so over the Intercontinental Champion. So who knows what that means for this Sunday, or a week from Sunday, even, I should say.
That's right. And really looking at this now, the IC title recently has looked a bit. It's not. It doesn't seem to be quite what it used to be, prestige wise.
Yeah, especially if, you had a champion like early this year, like Cody Rhodes, who brought something to it and held it for a very long time. But then, you've kind of had these transitional champions, and I think Kingston is, again, we'll get into this later when we discuss TLC in our preview, but I think Wade Barrett is going to become the new champion, and then hopefully, we're going to see more prestige added to that title because of hopefully, the direction that they're going to go in with a more kind of credible and formidable champion than Kingston, but I guess only time will tell.
Okay, then we had the the follow-up to the Miz challenging CM Punk with a lie detector challenge for him. This came to fruition at the end of the evening, and he actually took the lie detector test on Miz TV. He passed the first two questions, but when he was asked on the third question whether he was, with the in cahoots of the Shield, etc., they then came down to the ring and obliterated the Miz.
Yeah, this Miz TV segment was effectively the main event of Raw, and it was kind of it's the continued attempt to get Miz over as a babyface. Yet, as we discussed on the last episode, he's basically exactly the same as he was as a heel. Really goofy. He's just not really changed, and it just isn't working very well. People kind of respond to it, but in a kind of way that they don't really care, in a sense. So yeah, I think the Miz desperately needs a change of character if they continue to go down the babyface route with him, because he's a natural heel.
Yeah, I think this whole segment as well reminds me of when Stone Cold was, obviously at his peak in terms of popularity. And the WWE really needed him in the show. But of course, he broke his neck and couldn't compete. But they still had to have him doing something in the show to keep him about. Because, at the time, they were getting beaten by WCW in the ratings. And they couldn't afford to have him out. And I think at the moment, when WWE has, decreased slightly in popularity and isn't quite the product it was, and CM Punk being, such a popular wrestler, both as a heel and a face, I think that, now that he is injured, and obviously this is going to have repercussions on the TLC card, which we'll mention later, they had to have something just to have him on the show. I think this segment still keeps him out there, and still keeps, the fans' interest. That's why I think they probably did it.
He's going to be, looks to be featured on Raw, heavily going into TLC, and however long after that he needs, time off from the ring. He was still in his wrestling gear, though, on the show. But, of course, at the end of the segment, what the WWE's blaming in storyline is that because he was powerbombed through a table, thanks to Ryback. The Shield again descended on the ring. Kane and Daniel Bryan managed to make the save after the Miz was pretty much obliterated by the Shield. Kane, Daniel Bryan and Ryback fought off the Shield, sent them packing and running into the crowd. So that allowed Ryback to get Punk one-on-one, hit him with a chair, hit him with a ladder, and then put him through a table. Of course, symbolic of the what was going to be a TLC match that they were going to have against each other in a couple of weeks, or next week even. The knee injury being blamed on Punk being put through a table. But after Raw, Punk had emergency knee surgery, successful surgery, but he is going to be out for I think it's just a few weeks until he's going to be medically cleared again. Or he may even be medically cleared now, is what I'm hearing. But the WWE are just being careful; they don't want to rush him back into action. But it's been a bit of an unfortunate events in the recent times, because obviously you had the injury to John Cena, which changed the Hell in a Cell main event a month or so ago. So you've had two main eventers sustain. They've been minor injuries, but injuries nonetheless, and they have had to miss ring time. So hopefully that's not going to happen again anytime soon. It
just goes to show as well the difficult job that the writers do. I know we give them, the sheets give them a lot of stick, and blame them for the storylines and the way things happen sometimes. But you've got to remember that one thing the writers cannot account for is injuries. And 1 minute they've probably written out a 1 month, 2 month, 3 month plan for the wrestlers and what's going to happen on Raw and SmackDown, etc., or TNA. And then someone gets injured, and of course they've got to go back to square one. So it's interesting to see how they, how quick they can get up with a plan B. Okay, that was Raw this week. Tonight, of course, is TNA's pay-per-view Final Resolution. We're going to take a look at the card now. Jeff Hardy, the reigning champion, is defending his title against Bobby Roode. We've already said quite a few times over the last couple of weeks that last couple of shows that this match makes no sense because of the stipulation that Bobby Roode shouldn't be entitled to a title match. But nevertheless, it should be a good match.
Yeah, looking forward to the match as a match. I mean, it should be a good one. But obviously, as we discussed in the last show, Bobby Roode defeated James Storm to get his title shot after losing the three-way at Turning Point. Made absolutely no sense, absolutely no logic.
No.
But nevertheless, that's TNA. So I'm sure we'll get a good main event out of it. But it does defy logic.
Second match on the card is two fantastic wrestlers. Have great matches, but it's just another singles match between AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels.
This one's been billed as the last time they'll that this is their last match to against each other, Styles and Daniels. So they've really got to they've had some great matches in the past. They've really got to go out and deliver 1,000,000% here, as it is their supposed final match against each other. It's one last time for Styles and Daniels. Effectively, this has to be their best match they've ever had against each other.
But then with TNA, they make all these stipulations up and they change them week to week. So, you probably find that this isn't there. You probably find this is like Terry Funk's retirement. It never ends, ongoing and ongoing.
Yeah, it's like just exactly like the Turning Point three-way match stipulation. We could end up seeing AJ Styles and Daniels happen on Thursday's Impact again.
Okay, the TNA's Women's Knockout Championship is on the line. Tara defends against Mickie James.
Now, Mickie James returned a couple of weeks ago and won a Divas Battle Royal, or a Knockouts Battle Royal, I should say, to become the number one contender. So, as we discussed, we had a little preview of the show a couple of weeks ago, just to talk about the kind of logic-defyingness of the Final Resolution card. James thrusts right back into the title picture against Tara. I'm not sure who's going to come out on top. Mickie James, of course, getting a push, her return from being out for a couple of months due to a health scare. Tara, of course, though, has things going for her at the moment with I can't even remember his name. The Jesse Goddard, the former Big Brother star, also known as probably the biggest disappointment. Most disappointing announcement in TNA history when he debuted. So I'm not sure whether Mickie James's push is going to continue with the title run, or if Tara is going to continue now that she's got Jessie in her corner.
Okay, another tag team match for you. The TNA World Tag Team Championship belts are on the line. Reigning champions Chavo Guerrero and Hernandez defend against the team of Matt Morgan and Joey Ryan.
Yeah, Chavo Guerrero and Hernandez's title run started at Bound for Glory a couple of months ago, and they haven't really been the most effective tag team champions in recent memory in TNA. And Matt Morgan and Joe Ryan, their stock's on the rise in the company. Matt Morgan looks to be getting, or nearing a main event push at least. He's come back as a heel, and he's getting in the face of Hulk Hogan. And Joe Ryan seems to be getting a bit of a push as well now, although he wasn't successful at getting the X Division Championship at Turning Point. But I do think that we're going to see Morgan and Ryan take the titles from Guerrero and Hernandez. Probably set up a rematch at the next pay-per-view, but just general feeling based on how they're pushing Morgan at the moment, especially.
Okay, fifth match on the card is the team of Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Wes Briscoe and Garrett Bischoff, and they're up against Aces and Eights in an 8-man tag team match.
Yes, Wes Briscoe, the latest member of the TNA roster, having become the first person of the gut check to actually defeat his opponent, who was Garrett Bischoff. Samoa Joe, of course, on Impact this past Thursday lost his championship to Devon. Devon, of course, when he left TNA for a brief time, he left the company as the champion. So he was stripped of the title. Obviously, he signed a new deal, came back. The Bound for Glory revealed that he was a member of the Aces and Eights. But now he's got the title back. Whether we will see a reveal of any further members of Aces and Eights at the pay-per-view is yet to be seen. Although Wes Briscoe and Garrett Bischoff have both been members of Aces and Eights. Obviously, they've not been revealed as that, but the long-haired guy with the Aces and Eights is Wes Briscoe, and Garrett Bischoff has been found to be one of them, basically because of a tattoo on his hand. So TNA didn't really think of that when they put him in the costume. But of course, these two members may not, Briscoe and Garrett, may not actually turn out to be members of Aces and Eights, because I do believe they quite frequently change who's under the masks.
Okay, next match, and this is the fourth championship on the line. This is the TNA X Division Championship belt, and that's the champion Rob Van Dam up against Kenny King.
Kenny King, one of the newest members of the TNA roster. He's had a pretty ineffective run so far, so it's interesting that he's suddenly got this big shot at the X Division Championship. Maybe there's a potential there that TNA may be seeing a lot in him and give him the title. But I'd say it was too early, and I'd keep it on Van Dam, even though he's bringing absolutely nothing to the X Division. The X Division really doesn't exist anymore. Really sorely needs talent who aren't coming from the gut check, because if there's one thing I can't stand about TNA, it's the whole gut check concept.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Maybe Kenny King winning the title will be the start of the return of the X Division, and TNA have another. They've got Destination X next year, the X Division centric pay-per-view. Yet they have no X Division going into that show next year. So,
I've taken two guys. Two guys that started the X Division, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and they're just doing a regular singles match. They could really use those guys, and let's start the X Division all over again. Let's refresh it again and use some of these guys.
Yeah, they are TNA originals, and guys like AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe, really had some pretty classic matches in the X Division. Going back years now, going back as long as 7 years now, since they had their three-way at I forget which pay-per-view it was now, but it was a match that received rave reviews, probably one of the best matches in TNA history. But the foundation of TNA was that they had these amazing wrestlers that you hadn't heard of before. Really showcasing them. And of course, TNA's motto used to be "We are wrestling." The X Division was TNA. Why people tuned into TNA was because of the X Division. Now you look at them, and they have no X Division. They've got no kind of USP, so to speak, anymore. And it's a shame to see. I really wish they could rejuvenate the X Division.
Okay, the last announced match on the card is a singles match between Bully Ray and Austin Aries.
Yes, this is a bit of a... I don't know how this came about, but with TNA actually mentioning that there was a kind of love storyline in WWE with someone called AJ that came out of the mouth of AJ Styles. Of course, being the AJ Lee John Cena storyline with Vicky Guerrero and Dolph Ziggler. TNA now has Bully Ray and Brooke Hogan having a hinted at relationship, and Austin Aries has been making light of that and sticking the pins in, and that has led to this match. So Bully Ray and Austin Aries. I really wish they would do something a bit more with Bully Ray than have him in this storyline. I guess they really don't know what to do with Austin Aries at the moment. Maybe they could put him back in the X Division. Maybe we can instead have Rob Van Dam versus Austin Aries on this pay-per-view for the title, and put Bully Ray in perhaps a more high-profile match. Maybe make the TNA World title match a three-way.
It's the thing with saying about what do they do with Austin Aries, but this is the thing that he came in there, he instantly became, in the title picture and became the World Heavyweight Champion. And was a paper champion. Once you've come in, there was no build up to being the champion. He's just was given it basically as soon as he got there. So where'd you go? Where'd you come in? You've been the champion. There's only one way to go, which is down.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to take quite a while for him to, build himself up again and get in that title picture.
I think it's kind of a good thing because he wasn't good in the title. He wasn't good. He wasn't a good champion. So I think he does need to be kept at the kind of X Division Championship level at this time, or maybe the Television Championship, even though it's completely worthless. But I'm glad to see him not in the TNA Championship picture at the moment. He's had his run, but I would like to see Bully Ray in the championship picture. So I do think, but actually, going back on that, not at this time, because Bully Ray is now a babyface, a babyface who really didn't kind of turn as such. I hate those kind of things, but Bully Ray as a heel was one of the best things in TNA.
Definitely.
It's just one guy I do not want to see as a babyface. I'd love to see a heel Bully Ray as the TNA World Champion, because I think he would bring something to the gold. But I'm really not a fan of him as a babyface at this time.
Okay, that's the final roundup for TNA tonight, a pay-per-view. Catch that tonight. Next week is, of course, WWE's last pay-per-view of the year, TLC. And let's have a look at the matches announced so far. Of course, they had to change the card because of CM Punk's knee injury. But we've still got the chairs match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Big Show's defending his championship again against Sheamus. Obviously, this one's been played out quite a bit recently. Do you think this will probably be the last one?
Yeah, I think it will. Big Show and Sheamus, this I think this is just going to round up the feud for the year end. 2013 can begin with fresh feuds for both of them, and I do see Sheamus regaining the title here. I see him being the champion going into the Royal Rumble, and I'd say probably the World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania this year, because you got to look towards WrestleMania now, because championship runs are getting longer, so it's about time to start looking at who is going to be the champion at WrestleMania. If Sheamus starts a title run now, I don't see him losing it between now and WrestleMania. So you've kind of got half of a WrestleMania match in a sense there, with Sheamus if he does win the title.
To be fair to Sheamus, we've all been sort of saying how fantastic CM Punk is and how he's had the title for over a year now, and how he's been such a great champion. But really need to sort of give Sheamus a pat on the back as well, because apart from the thing of the Big Show, if he does win the title and he carries it to WrestleMania, then he's had the title the best part of the year as well, and so he's obviously doing something right for the office to back him that highly. Yeah.
His before he lost the title at Hell in a Cell, was it? Yeah, Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
He was champion since WrestleMania, so it was if he does win the title again and goes to WrestleMania, it pretty much is without of course being a complete reign, pretty much a 9-month reign as champion, which is a pretty strong thing to do in this day and age where titles have been much shorter than they used to be. Of course, that has changed and is continuing to change.
Okay, the IC title is also on the line. Kofi Kingston is defending his belt against Wade Barrett. And personally, I can only really see this going one way, and that is that we have a new IC champion, because Wade Barrett has defeated Kofi Kingston very recently. Kofi Kingston has quite a few losses recently as well. He's not really been a fantastic IC champion, so personally I would welcome a title change.
Yeah, just like when The Miz lost his title to Kofi Kingston on Main Event, a couple of days before, Kingston defeated The Miz in singles action, in non-title singles action, to get the match. Wade Barrett has done the same here. He defeated Kingston to get this championship match. So are we going to see Barrett defeat Kingston for the title? I think we will. Like I said earlier, Kingston really hasn't been a very strong champion. WWE is really high on Wade Barrett. Reportedly, he's going to be one of the top stars of 2013 going into the new year. And I think him getting the title again is definitely going to be a good thing, and I think it's going to be a good thing for the title. Of course, though, this is just at the moment. This is just an ordinary singles match, but there isn't a tables match on the card. So I think this match, or the US Championship match, or perhaps even another match yet to be added, as this is currently a 5-match card, and of course we've got one more week of WWE TV to go before next Sunday's pay-per-view. We've surely got to see a tables match added, and possibly another ladder match, perhaps.
Quite possibly. I mean, going on to ladder matches now. Of course, we've got Dolph Ziggler against John Cena. Their feud, a recent feud, culminates here. Vince McMahon this week announced that the new stipulation would be that Dolph Ziggler will have to defend his Money in the Bank World Championship contract. So that added a twist to this match. Personally, I'd like to see Dolph Ziggler win, because I'd like to see Dolph Ziggler continue to get his push. I'd like to see him become champion again, but we'll have to see. But this has got two fantastic superstars, so this has had the makings of a really good match.
I think this could be a really, really good match. Cena and Ziggler's match last week on Raw, as in, the Monday before last, was really solid. And I think in a ladder match scenario, they could really do a great job. And Ziggler, of course, is going to just is going to do some crazy things, as we saw in the Money in the Bank ladder match this year, when he basically just killed himself. And of course he ended up winning that. So now we've basically kind of got a Money in the Bank ladder match in a smaller form, in just a one-on-one match. I think Dolph Ziggler is going to win. He's taken 2 losses to Cena in recent weeks. I think this is Ziggler's time to not only retain the Money in the Bank contract, but this could be his big push. His final. I think we discussed in the last episode, Ziggler is always the guy they turn to when they've got no one else to put into the title picture. He's always been so reliable. He always has good matches. Probably some of the most consistently good matches in WWE at the moment. And I think this could be the final kind of nudge for Ziggler to get a main event, rather than just like slipping in and out of the main event.
It's also, if he should win against Cena, it's been a pretty quiet year really for John Cena in wrestling terms. If he does lose to Ziggler, he's lost his Money in the Bank match. But 2012, really, you look at his defeat to The Rock, and he's not really done anything of particular note this year. He's also had his injuries as well. So it's in the world of wrestling, it's actually a fairly quiet year for John Cena. So maybe 2013 will bring a bit more opportunity for him.
Yeah, it could well do. I mean, of course, this ladder match is for the Money in the Bank contract is for the World Heavyweight Championship. So if you look at it that way, Cena being a prominent Raw star, I don't see him winning and going after the World Heavyweight Championship anyway, simply because it is that title, not the WWE Championship. Cena, of course, he's had 2 of the biggest matches. Him and The Rock at WrestleMania, probably the second biggest match in the history of wrestling in terms of spectacle. And of course, he had his big match against Brock Lesnar. But between those 2, and of course one of those was the big loss against The Rock, it has been a very quiet year. He hasn't had the title for... trying to think of his last title reign. It's been over a year. I think the last time he was WWE champion was when he lost it at Money in the Bank 2011. So he's been a long while without a title shot, a title reign. So we'll see how that goes into 2013. And as we discussed last time, could end up with the WWE Championship perhaps at WrestleMania if we do see Cena and The Rock 2. But I'm really hoping Ziggler wins, and really hoping this is the final nudge he needs to become cemented his place as a main eventer.
Absolutely. Okay, Team Hell No, Daniel Bryan and Kane, with Ryback, get a chance to extract some revenge on The Shield, the team of Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. And this is a tables, ladders and chairs match, which can be decided by either pinfall or submission. I mean, I'd like to see the Team Hell No Ryback get some revenge here, but I personally think if The Shield, job for them, then The Shield sort of becomes slightly pointless.
Yeah. Well, this match, of course, it's the first ever TLC match in WWE history that can actually be decided by pinfall or submission. Of course, there are no titles on the line because you can't really have a 6-man match and put the titles on the line when only 2 of the members of the Team of the Champions, obviously. But this match, of course, was originally Ryback versus CM Punk for the WWE title. It's been changed to this 6-man tag because of CM Punk's knee injury. It'll be interesting to see if CM Punk plays a part in this match. As perhaps a distraction or just makes an appearance or something. But it does make perfect sense for the Shield to be victorious here, as they are the new guys. But it's interesting, when John Cena was injured, Ryback became a main event level. He was thrust into the main event very quickly. Now the same has happened with CM Punk. The Shield have been put in the main event. Maybe we'd see the Shield versus Team Hell No as a 2-on-2 handicap match. A 2-on-2 tag team match, or perhaps a 3-on-2 handicap match. But now we're seeing the Shield in the main event of a WWE pay-per-view. So we'll have to see how they cope, because obviously none of these three have had matches on WWE TV. But I expect big things from the Shield. I haven't seen much of Roman Reigns apart from on about 2 matches on NXT, but I've seen a lot of Seth Rollins as a former NXT champion, and Dean Ambrose also has a lot of potential.
Okay, the last match of the card here is Antonio Cesaro, and he's defending his US title against R-Truth. To be fair, if there's one match on the card that I would say was the least one I want to see, probably this one really. I'm not really a great fan of R-Truth personally. So I'm not particularly, as a watching point of view, watching this one, I'm not particularly fussed, but I can't really see R-Truth, beating him really.
No, and I'm a big fan of Cesaro's work. As we said when we reviewed Survivor Series, I didn't think that R-Truth and Cesaro really clicked. Yet here we are, they have a rematch. Perhaps it's going to become a gimmick match. Perhaps we're going to see this as a tables match or another ladder match. But hopefully this can top their previous match, which wouldn't be that hard to do, as we said. But that's one of 3 current championship matches, and there's 5 matches on the card. I expect to see a Divas Championship match added. Hopefully that won't take the place of a tables match or something. And other than that, I guess some of these matches are going to go quite long because of the gimmicks and the stipulations. But it's quite an interesting card actually, and it'll be interesting to see how the final pay-per-view of the year sets things running for 2013 and the Royal Rumble.
Okay, on the last show we set you out a fantastic competition where we were giving away a copy of the NWO Revolution DVD from Silvision. We set you out a competition question, which was, at which pay-per-view event did Hulk Hogan shock the world by joining Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and forming the new NWO, the New World Order? Was it A, Sold Out, B, Starrcade, or C, Bash at the Beach? Of course it was C, Bash at the Beach, and we are pleased to announce that Ross Hewitt wins a copy of the NWO Revolution DVD. So Ross, send us your details and we'll get that out to you. Thank you very much. This week we are giving away a copy of the new Mick Foley Miserable Christmas book, illustrated by none other than Jerry the King Lawler. And we have a question for you for that, which is...
In his first run in the World Wrestling Federation, Balls Mahoney played an anti-Christmas character by what name? Was it A, Santa Claus, B, Jingle Balls, or C, Balls Humbug?
Okay, you can send your answers to us at
hottagmailbag@yahoo.com.
You can also find us on facebook.com. Just type in the Hot Tag Podcast. We're on there. And you can private message your answers to us with your name and address. Please don't just post them on the site because you'll give away the answers to everyone else.
Because it's such a hard question.
Exactly. It's a terribly hard question this week. Any views, news, questions for us, please also post them to those 2 addresses. And we'll announce the winner in 2 weeks for our last show of the year. Okay, this week's show, let's finish off with a visit to the mailbag with 3 questions for you. The first one is from Ken Johnson, and he says, personally, I think Vicky Guerrero waters down Dolph Ziggler's character, and his basic the view we see of him in the ring. I would love to see a new manager with him, possibly Bobby Heenan. I think he would have been great. What do you guys think of who should manage him? Well, Ken, yes, I I think Vicky Guerrero, as his manager, has sort of outstayed her welcome now. I think he's definitely good enough to go on his own. I don't think he needs her on the stick. But as far as you say about Bobby Heenan, I don't think that would be good for his career, because as good as a manager Bobby Heenan was, all the guys he wrestled never really got above Intercontinental Championship status. And the ones that did challenge for the World Championship, such as Andre the Giant, etc., were never successful under Bobby Heenan. So I think if he had been in the Heenan stable, then he'd have probably been, sort of a Kurt Hennig IC Championship, Rick Rude IC Championship sort of level. And I think that's as far as he would have gone. I mean, there was talk a while ago that Ric Flair might be come back to manage Ziggler, which would have been, I think, personally, I think would have been fairly good. It didn't really work for AJ Styles, because AJ Styles is this, loves God, loves his family, he's not a drinker, not a carouser, and that team with him, Ric Flair, for me, didn't work. But with someone like Dolph Ziggler, who claims he's beyond perfection, he's a perfect 10, I think that would be a fantastic pairing, Adam.
Well, Bobby Heenan probably the greatest manager of all time, but he was so great that he often outshone the talent in the ring, and he often came off as a bigger star than the people he was managing. So that may have actually kind of been detrimental to Dolph Ziggler. If this was kind of a different time and era. In terms of Ric Flair, I mean, he's kind of got the same kind of the whole spectacle of it being Ric Flair. So there was always the possibility that Ric Flair would actually outshine Ziggler. I think as a match they would go very well, but you don't want you don't. The thing with the manager is you don't want the manager getting a better response than Ziggler. And Ziggler isn't a Triple H. If you look back at when Ric Flair was managing Triple H, Triple H was the number one guy, the number one heel. Ziggler, he isn't the number one heel, although I think he's a great, and he's got big things coming for him in the future, and hopefully as soon as the new year. I wouldn't like to see a new manager with Ziggler. He still is with Vicky Guerrero. That seems to be like it's coming to an end now. I just like to see Ziggler go out there on his own now, because he's definitely good enough to.
Question number 2 is from Madison West, just says USA here. Do you think WWE/TNA will ever run another major weekly show like Raw, SmackDown or Impact? Do you think it's wise to do so or not? I'd say no, especially not for TNA, because TNA, until they can actually, draw on their own without the help of Universal Studios for the Impact show, have no chance at all. You take out. I'd like to see TNA actually, if they moved away from Universal, had it somewhere else, and actually charged for tickets. What sort of an audience would they get? So I think on a, they've got the Impact show, which is for their only show, their flagship show, their only proper show. Just leave it out for now and see if they get bigger. If they do get bigger in the future, then maybe they can do put a Nitro on, compete with Raw or something. But I can't see it happening for a long, long time. Not within the next decade even. As for WWE, I think they've certainly got enough talent, in numbers on the roster to run 3 weekly shows. But problem is you water it down that way. You can't have all the titles being defended over 3 shows. You can have you expose your talent more, maybe run with some more storylines, just like a sitcom. In the UK we have things like EastEnders and Coronation Street, and they're shown each sort of three times a week, which helps to build the story up quicker, rather than tuning in once a week or twice a week, and trying to catch up on the storyline. So from that point of view, they could do it, and I'm sure people would still watch it. But they do have other shows such as the Main Event, Superstars, etc., Saturday Morning Slam. So I think they've got enough at the moment, but WWE more likely to do it than TNA anytime soon.
Yeah, well, I don't think TNA is ever going to have another show apart from Impact. They've got Explosion, which is basically Superstars, just kind of random matches that have no bearing on storylines. But I don't think anyone watches Explosion. Even less people than Impact, which is hard to believe. But Explosion is never even mentioned on Impact anymore. So that show's really just been tossed aside. Impact 2-hour live show. Well, currently it's live. Early this year they did the hour-long sort of remix of the previous week's Impact, which I think lasted one episode before it was cancelled by Spike TV. I don't see TNA getting another kind of main show. They can barely draw one rating as it is with Impact Wrestling. I don't see it happening. I don't really see it ever happening, to be honest. I don't think TNA's ever going to get bigger, to be perfectly honest. If you look at Raw, if you look at WWE's programming, what ratings they're getting, how is a company like TNA ever going to get bigger and high ratings if the Raw ratings decline? In terms of WWE, you have Raw and SmackDown as the main shows. Raw, of course, is this. The brand split doesn't exist anymore, really. Raw, encompasses both brands. SmackDown really encompasses both brands now. They're really not brands. They're just shows. Of course, you've got WWE Main Event, which I do enjoy, and they do a good job of building up to Main Event on Raw and SmackDown. Superstars, just kind of random matches. Saturday Morning Slam, again, kind of just random matches. So it is kind of good to see this show like Main Event that kind of links Raw and SmackDown together and is a storyline-driven show. And you always get a good match, like a 20-minute match, a proper kind of condensed version of Saturday night's Main Event in a sense.
Okay, last question today, and we're not going to put who this is from because we had the same question from lots and lots of you this week. So thank you for writing this in because it's something we're a bit passionate about as well. And this is basically, many of you are asking, do you think women's wrestling should be scrapped or altered, and what would you do to change it? Well, first of all, this isn't a sexist comment at all. It's nothing to do with, so don't write in and complain about it because it's nothing to do with that. It's just the fact that you had years ago, obviously you had fantastic women wrestlers. You had obviously Sherry Martel, the Fabulous Moolah, Mae Young. I mean, so many. And Baby Doll's parents, her mum wrestled. Ted DiBiase's senior, his mum wrestled. There's some fantastic women wrestlers, proper women wrestlers. Not all these pretty divas knockouts. Ones that can actually get in the ring and beat up most of the men. They were tough, and that was wrestling. Then they sort of forgot all about it for quite a while until they had Alundra Blaze, Lilani Kai in the 90s. Sort of brought it back to the forefront. And now, of course, we've got the divas, the knockouts, beautiful women, but they're there really with selling their TNA rather than actual wrestling. Yes, they can bounce around the ring, but the quality of the wrestling really isn't up to much. But we've had many of you saying that when and it's including the female viewers as well, they've said that when the women wrestling comes on the Raw or SmackDown or whatever, or TNA, they actually turn the channel over till the match is finished, watch something else, or they go and make use it for their coffee break. They go and put the coffee machine on and wait for the match to finish, and then watch the rest of the show. Also, I've been to many WWE shows all over the UK, and one thing I noticed as well is when you see the fans wearing the t-shirts and the merchandise, I don't think I've ever seen anyone wearing Diva merchandise at a WWE house show or at a Raw or a SmackDown. It's always the usual suspects, your Cenas, your CM Punks, and even the jobbers who have merchandise. You see some of them wearing it, but you never see Diva merchandise. Perhaps it's just not a great seller, but I don't think they should scrap it. I think they just need to totally revamp it and make it more of a competition, a wrestling competition, more than a beauty competition.
Yeah, well, you look back to 10 years ago, and you had people like Lita and Ivory and Trish Stratus, and they were like a combination of kind of beauty and brawn, and they had some good matches. Women's wrestling was alive 10 years ago, but you look now and in WWE and you've barely got much of a Divas roster. There's absolutely no depth there. The matches really aren't very good at all.
I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, even with Beth Phoenix, who was, the Glamazon, I mean, she was a bigger diva. She was a bigger girl. But, you look to her and you think, well, if she was up against Alundra Blaze or Lani Kai or Sherry Martel, you look at them and think you're going to get your arse handed to you on a plate here by them, because they're just not the same. It's not the same toughness. Like you say, even sort of 10 years ago, you had Lita and Trish Stratus. They could, genuinely wrestle.
So WWE definitely needs to get some more female talent in, and talent who can actually wrestle. I mean, there's plenty of female, good female wrestlers on the independent scene who could, go and get a contract. NXT has a couple of new divas. Paige, who's a fellow English person, is in NXT, and she's pretty good. She can actually wrestle, and she's not the typical diva. She calls herself the anti-diva. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when she makes the main roster, which hopefully won't be too soon, so we can actually get some depth to the WWE Divas division. Actually make it a division. In terms of TNA, the Knockouts at one stage were the highest rated segment on Impact. People were tuning in to watch the Knockouts. They were outdrawing people like Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles and the TNA Originals. The Knockouts even had their own pay-per-view. I remember Karma, when she was Awesome Kong versus Gail Kim for the Knockouts Championship. I can remember that main eventing Impact. The main event of Impact was a women's wrestling match. Now there isn't as much depth in the TNA Knockouts division, and they desperately need it, especially when they're continually showing off their Knockouts division. Well, they don't really have much of one anymore. You have talent in there like Tara, formerly WWE's Victoria, Mickie James, etc. But it's just for a company, it's like we discussed on the X division. Something the company has showcased so much, it's really just taken such a just taking so much damage.
Okay, that's all about time for this week's show. Thank you as always for listening. Our next show will be on Sunday the 23rd of December, so very, very close to Christmas. We're trying to give a festive flavour to our show. We look at some of maybe the zany Christmas characters and themes, storylines that have been over in the world of wrestling over the festive period. If you want to contact us at all or send your competition questions in, you can find us on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com, type in the Hot Tag Podcast. You can message your questions on there for us, or if you want to enter the competition that way, private message us. Please don't post it on the page, everyone else can see. Or you can email your question answers to
hottagmailbag@yahoo.com. Any questions, comments, anything, just send us them at that email address.
As promised for our festive edition, we are having an interview with none other than Rob Feinstein of RF Video. We're going to get his news and views on the world of wrestling. So that'll be a treat for you. We will see you then. Thank you for listening.
See you then.